Hello, everybody. January 22nd, 2021. This video, the topic I chose was the First Amendment. Now, it has occurred to me through the way people speak and talking to people in general that a lot of us don't know where our freedom of speech comes from. A lot of us don't know the amendments of the Constitution, which enumerates your rights as a free citizen of this country. The rights don't come from the government; they come from God. The government is there to protect those rights and ensure nobody else infringes on them. So before we go any further, I want to make sure everybody has a firm understanding of what the First Amendment is. So I'm going to read it to you verbatim. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. That is the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. What that should mean to you is you have the right to say whatever you want. You have the right to peaceably assemble to petition the government for a redress of grievance. A lot of people, common vernacular for that is protesting. Peaceably is the key word in that. There's a reason for that. Every word in the Constitution is deliberate. It's not a grammatical error. It's not a mistake. Now, a lot of people like to cite the First Amendment as their right to riot. You don't have a right to destroy other people's property, because that's also one of our rights. The right to be secure in your person, papers, and effects. You don't have the right to destroy my business because you don't like that the police killed somebody that was trying to kill them. But keep in mind, the First Amendment says petition the government. So all of your airs and anger should be towards the government. Now, the reason talking about the First Amendment right now is so important is because of what's happening in our country. On January 6th, we had a special election to decide who would be the two senators in Georgia. Those two elections reportedly resulted in two Democrats winning those two Senate seats. The result of that is that the Senate is now split down the middle 50-50, which means, according to our Constitution, that Vice President Kamala Harris is now the tie-breaking vote in the Senate, which technically means the Democrats have the majority. The day after that happened, all of the major platforms which people use to communicate with each other nowadays, that's Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Twitter, they all suspended President Donald Trump's account. Now, if you think they would have done that, if Republicans had won those two seats, you have not been paying attention, because there was the risk of them losing the protection of what's called 230, which protects them from liability lawsuits. People can't sue them because they claim to be a neutral party, a platform where everybody gets equal chance to speak. So they're not liable for the speech said on their platforms as long as they moderate it. Now, that only applies apparently to conservatives, because the onus for suspending these accounts was supposedly because President Trump was inciting violence. That's also why Amazon and Apple stopped allowing Parler, which is a favorite of conservatives. They didn't allow them to use their service anymore, so Parler essentially ceased to exist. If you have not heard about this, don't take my word for it, read up. So the impetus for that was supposedly Parler was being used by right-wing extremists to plan violent attacks, most notably the one on January 6th at the Capitol building. Now, that may very well be the case, but if using your platform to plan attacks and to spread disinformation is the onus for getting deplatformed and virtually taken off the internet, then Twitter should have been first. Twitter was used by Antifa and other groups to plan almost every riot that took place in 2020. Now, you can say, well, those people were protesting fascism, so it's okay. They were protesting police brutality, so it's okay. We could do another video about police brutality. I'll talk about that a little bit. Most of what you've heard about police brutality, if you think police brutality is a pervasive, everyday occurrence in this country, you are misinformed. Police brutality, what I mean by police brutality is excessive force. And if you think that happens on a regular basis, you are wrong. There's no way around that. There's not ambiguous. It is absolutely a fact. It is extremely, extremely rare. And when it does happen, especially in sensationalized cases, I can't think of a single case where the police officer wasn't held accountable for his actions. Keep in mind, justice is not your preferred outcome. Justice is that they go through the system. They get the same presumption of innocence that anybody else gets. Just because you wear a badge does not mean you set aside your rights as a citizen. That's another topic. Let's get back to the First Amendment. I believe, and it appears our founders believe, that you have the right to say whatever you want. The government shall not abridge the freedom of speech. The argument that I've been hearing to justify what Facebook and Twitter and Apple and Amazon have done is that, well, the Constitution is referring to the government. It doesn't apply to private businesses. Well, that's the case. This argument is only used by progressives for their chosen rights, anything they want. They don't apply that same logic to the Second Amendment. Well, the founding fathers didn't anticipate us having weapons of war. Well, the founding fathers didn't anticipate Google and Twitter either. You can't explain to me how you justify banning people who you disagree with from your platform because you say you're not the government. And then in the same breath saying, well, we should really, really take a look at the Second Amendment because our founding fathers didn't know there would be improvements in firearms. They were talking about muskets was my favorite. So, and I'm fully aware. I mean, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he made a good point. Almost every Democrat administration, Republicans start saying they're going to come take your guns. Has anybody taken our guns yet? Nope. But this time is special because now we have a president in office. It's the first time somebody has explicitly said, quote unquote, hell yes, we're going to take your guns. Now, you can think what you want about that. I'm not saying that. You don't have to take my word for it. I try to leave my feelings out of these. You should go look for yourself. What the Democratic Party stands for, what they intend to do, what they're starting to do already. I have never seen this level of blatant partisanship and bias by private companies, the likes of which there has never been before. You can't say, well, Google's a private company. You go somewhere else. Google essentially controls the internet. Now, if Google were run by conservatives, do you think there wouldn't be screaming on the other side? If Kamala Harris, after she told Black Lives Matter to quote unquote not stop burning cities and assaulting people, if her Twitter account had been suspended, what do you think the outcome of that would have been? What do you think the reaction from the left would have been? And I agree, we should all be calling for peace and calm and quote unquote unity, but unity has to go both ways. You can't extend your hand and the other party spit in your face, and then when you retaliate, somehow it's your fault. That can't be the case. The rules must apply to everyone for it to work. I am not saying this is not a call for violence. This is not me, having sour grapes about who's the president now. I fully understand that Joe Biden is the recognized president. You can believe what you want. Joe Biden's sitting in the White House right now. He's signing executive orders. He has the command of our military. He is the commander in chief. He has the nuclear codes. But that's not the way these same people felt a year ago. I mean, the internet is undefeated when it comes to the hypocrisy of politicians. The same people who claim that questioning the election and any social media posts about questioning the election or election fraud or stop the steal should be taken off the internet. Well, the same people who were claiming Russian collusion for 4 years. And it's becoming more and more apparent that those same people knew for 4 years that there was no merit to those accusations. I'll say this, and I hope that people watch this video and please comment on it. The way President Trump was treated was the worst a commander-in-chief has been treated since the founding of the Republic, besides maybe Abraham Lincoln. Not maybe. Abraham Lincoln was treated worse. Think about that comparison. Nobody has been treated the way this man's been treated. Government apparatus is used to try to oust him from office. We know that now. It's just people are ignoring it. If there is a civil war, I have no doubt they'll blame conservatives and they'll point to the riot at the Capitol on January 6, 2021 as the start of it. But this started a long time ago. I'm not justifying what those people did, but in anything, I want to reiterate, I'm not calling for violence. Nobody should be calling for violence. But I think that a lot of young people today are ignorant of history, so they're doing the same things people did before that lead to widespread nationwide violence. You may be able to get away with any one of the things that have happened in the last 4 years. President wins a lawful election. He's duly elected president. Well, one of the major political parties in our country decided they didn't like the result of the election. So they're going to start an investigation to determine whether or not the president is a Russian agent or whether or not Russia helped him win the presidency. Keep in mind, we now know every person involved in that knew from the beginning that was not the case. So if you know what you're investigating is fraudulent from the beginning, what is your purpose for the investigation? We're forced to assume because the papers have not been released yet. I mean, some of the stuff is being declassified now, but just from what we know at this point, I think it's objective that we all know what happened to Donald Trump in terms of the Russian collusion investigation was completely fraudulent. It was done for the sole purpose to damage his presidency and ensure that he either would not finish his first term or would not be reelected. It apparently worked. That will require two things. One, for that investigation to be allowed to continue and for Republicans to allow it to continue. That happened. Two, for the media to assault President Trump's reputation and administration so much throughout the administration that by the time the 2020 election happened, people had such a negative view of Donald Trump that it didn't matter what was done to him. They didn't care because he was quote unquote literally Hitler. That happened. 3, the same people, and I'm talking about now the Speaker of the House and people of that level of political power, who have Twitter posts that are available today for review, saying that our election in 2016 was stolen. Those same people say if you question the election of 2020, you are unpatriotic. If you have any questions about how Joe Biden, possibly the most boring candidate in my lifetime, somehow got more votes than Barack Obama, the most politically exciting and electrifying candidate in my lifetime. I don't support Barack Obama. I don't believe in his policies, but I'm also not going to lie. Historically, Barack Obama was the most significant election, garnered the most support that I've ever seen. There was no excitement for Joe Biden. Even on the inauguration day, there were 2 groups of people that I saw. People who were really upset that Donald Trump lost and people that were really happy that Donald Trump was leaving. There was nobody that was really happy that Joe Biden was going to be president. Those people who were upset at what they saw in the last 4 years and tried to voice those opinions were taken off the internet. Like I said, you can get away with any one of those things. You legitimately, not only do you question the election, you start an investigation to try to unseat a duly elected president. That's one. It's a big one. When that doesn't work, you start a special counsel investigation. 15 of the 19 lawyers on Robert Mueller's team were openly anti-Trump. Forget about equal justice, openly anti-Trump. Even those people couldn't finagle a way to try to say Donald Trump was a Russian agent. So what they do? They accused Donald Trump and the people who supported him of not supporting the investigation that he knew was fraudulent from the beginning. So if you don't support the investigation to frame him, you're somehow an enemy of the United States, lying to Congress. That's what they got those people on. Keep in mind, everybody and I've heard that on liberal networks a lot. Well, this investigation wasn't fraudulent because it resulted in a lot of indictments. Every single one of those indictments are what you call process crimes. Crimes created by the existence of the investigation. They didn't uncover any crimes, they created them. If that does not scare you, you don't know history. We really need to pay attention to what's happening now and how we got here. So like I said, now we're at attempting to unseat a duly elected president with a Russian investigation, the origins of the Russian investigation, which we haven't seen those yet. You start an investigation with a special counsel. That investigation uncovers zero coordination between Donald Trump's presidential campaign and the Russian government to make sure he became president. He won legitimately, without the help of the media, without the help of the Democratic Party, without the help of the Republican Party for that matter. Now, I understand the hesitation by some to question the results of this election. It's a big deal if you question a presidential election like that. Let's legitimately question it. But that didn't stop Democrats from questioning the last election for 4 years. And if you can't see that, I question your level of honesty. I don't understand how you are upset that Republicans have any questions about this election when you still have, you never accepted the last election. Never. So when it comes to allowing people to voice their opinions, if the people who are talking about deplatforming people and taking people off the internet, misinformation, so to speak, if those people really want to avoid violence, you better give these people who are upset about what happened the last 4 years, and it's legitimate anger, you better give them a chance to voice their concerns. Because instead of stopping violence, if you take everybody off the internet that does not agree with your particular point of view, you're not going to stop violence. Those people are just going to become more and more angry. And it's validation of what they thought in the first place. You don't want anybody to hear from anybody that disagrees with you, so you're going to shut them up. And contrary to popular opinion, it's not the people who get deplatformed and censored that are the fascists. One of the key factors of fascism is the forcible suppression of opposition. Don't take my word for it, go look it up. I am not calling the Democratic Party fascist. I'm saying you're going that way in quite a hurry. That's all for this video. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video. See you next time.